Hello and welcome to the Corporate Nosy Guy. My name is Rolando Fori, aka the Corporate Nosy Guy. And in this episode, we want to have an interesting conversation about starting and thriving as a startup in Africa. So in this episode, we want to have a conversation with a gentleman who has done it and continues to do it. He's built a very thriving business, established a very strong footprint in Ghana, and he has the determination to establish himself as a force to reckon with when it comes to Africa as a whole. He is in the person of Gabriel Appiah.
So I would say Gabriel Appiah is basically a go-getter who has lived his life part in the Eastern region and came to Accra like any journeyman to come in, try and make an impact. A believer in Africa, and having worked as an employer and an employee now in the space of over 16 years, had tertiary education from University of Ghana as a banking and finance graduate, and more now into creating marketplaces for brands to meet consumers. I think my whole career life has been very checkered, right? So like I said, doing banking and finance, supposed to go into a banking hall and help count people's money. And but whilst I was in school, I was heavily into the non-syllabus activities, or they will call the whole weeks. There was no whole week that I'll be part of. So before I finished Legon, there was one whole week that one company, Joy FM, has come to sponsor. And when the head of marketing at that time interacted with me, he mentioned me I'm wasting my time in the banking and finance field. He thought that was not where I belong. So then he signed me up to come and do my service at Multimedia. And that's how the whole journey into this eventing, experiential brand building came from. Having gathered that experience over the period of 4 years, then I got to understand that you have to be at the spine of the industry. So no matter what I did at Joy FM, I was not a presenter, and I'm not going to be at the spine of the industry. Therefore, I moved into an experiential agency, which was then the core of what I was doing, which was swivel marketing. I've met this investors who have come into the country at that time, and then I rolled up as a project manager at that time. Spent 4 years as well, and it coincided with the relaunching of One Touch them into Vodafone. And I remember it was one of the most challenging times, because here is somebody who has spent quite a lot of time in Accra and Koforidua, and now you were leading a campaign to change one of the most iconic brands at that time, One Touch, over the country. So that is what I think, and then gave me first experience. And after doing that one as well, I realized that there was more that could be done. I saw how many people were touched by those campaigns in terms of the suppliers, the vendors, the promoters, and the clients. So then there was a shift in thinking from what I could do to feed myself and my family to what I could do to touch many lives. And that's where there's in the fact that to do this on a larger scale, I needed to evolve from being paid to getting other people paid. After 4 years in, I knew it was time to start something new. And that's how then BTL Africa came to life. That's when I transitioned into an employer in that space. I think there are some that with benefit of hindsight I can mention now, but that I didn't stand as a challenge, and that'll be people, right? Because I think there are quite a lot of good visionaries around, but the people to bring these visions to life is where the challenge is. But for startup, then capital always become a point of conversation. I remember when I had my first PO, we could not fund it. And luckily, my mother has gone on to pension, and she's giving me her pension if it's come and deposit in a fixed account for her. And so I had to turn around that check. I remember it was a 12,000 cedi. Her pension for working as a teacher for 40-something years. And I had to turn it around to do our first job at that time. So yes, capital was always a big problem. And imagine if this woman has got to know that her pension fee was invested in that never brought back. Well, she's worked for 43 years. I'm sure it would have been a very disastrous story. So capital, yes, was a big problem. But I still go back to people, because I think that visions, and I keep on saying a lot of visions, but how to bring life to people. People is essential to the conversation of turning ideas into reality. So yes, two challenges was capital, like I did mention, and then people, getting the right people to go on this agenda with. The other peripheral reasons I can give, like acceptability for the clients, because we offer services, and service is not something tangible that people can trust, that can be done. So for multinational brands to trust their brand to a young, upcoming partner was quite something that we have to speak about for them to believe that it was doable.